Hey, I'm Anthony, and there's only one thing I like more than fishing, and that's catching. Welcome to OC Outdoorsman. Look at that. Look at that wing. Oh,
you could tell you.
Huge. Round two of carp fishing. Bow fishing, that is. And this time I brought my recurve. I'm seeing fish. I had such a great time over the weekend. I figured, you know what? Why not try this again? Now, with my recurve bow, I only have 40 pounds of weight on this. So it's a lot easier to pull back than my compound bow, which was set at 50 pounds. One thing I forgot to mention in my last video is on this big water kayak, it's so much easier to just stand up and take shots. It's the perfect platform for bow fishing. They're boiling in front of me here. It's early morning right now, and these carp that you're seeing on the surface are feeding. Since the spawn is over, you're not seeing pairs of fish just boiling all over the water at this point. It was kind of nice to see them on the surface like this, but as the morning progressed, they start to submerge and go deeper. So the amount of surface activity really decreased as the day went on. This was my first hit of the day, but you'll see that as I was reeling him in, the fish came off the tip of my arrow. So that's one drawback, you could say, for the recurve bow, is if you don't take it to full draw, if you're not able to pull it back all the way, the arrow will not fully penetrate the fish and it will come off. Compare that to a compound bow where you're always at full draw and you get the maximum amount of power every time. Standing up gives you a much better vantage point, enabling you to see fish further away from your kayak. You just have to remember to go back to full draw before releasing that arrow. After shooting a fish, it's always a good idea to sit down in your kayak as you reel it in. These longer distance shots are tough, and because of the heavy weight of these fiberglass arrows, I ended up hitting this fish a bit low. Not the best shot. As you can see, the arrow went completely through the fish, and you can see the string going through the rear of his belly. Heck? Guy just popped up on me and I didn't get a chance to record the shot, but I got him. Shit, he's tearing up with mine. There we go. maybe a foot of water, or maybe 18 inches at the most. Super shallow. And this is where I'm gonna have to look for these fish. So no pedal drives today. Holy cow, I just saw this guy barely. He was not boiling, he was just beneath the surface under some grass. I just saw some movement. Took a shot, nailed him right in the head. Look at that. Ugh. But look at this shot. Nailed him right in the head. Let's talk about the gear I'm using today. As you can see, I have the Samick Sage recurve bow with me today. It's significantly bigger than the compound bow I brought with me during my last trip out here. It's really a lot of bow for use on a kayak. The length of it extends way past the gunnels of my Yak. The greatest advantage I have with this bow is getting shots off very quickly. Unlike a compound bow where I have to pull back on the bow past the let-off point, with this recurve I simply have to pull back and release. This bow has 40-pound limbs compared to the 50-pound compound bow, so this one is much easier to pull back and shoot. The main drawback to using a recurve is that if you don't pull back the string far enough, that is, if you release the arrow too soon, your arrow will lose quite a bit of speed and it will likely not penetrate the fish effectively, as demonstrated from one of my shots earlier in this video. You can also see that I have a muzzy reel mounted to it. Unlike the bottle reel that I have on my compound bow, this one does have a drag on it. And you need to make sure that you turn off that drag before you release the arrow to shoot a fish. Otherwise, that arrow will only move a few feet ahead of you, or if the drag is set super tight, it just might come back at you. So you need to be really careful when shooting this type of a reel. There you go. As you can see, because of the size of this recurve bow, it becomes quite unwieldy. After shooting a fish, you need to be able to get it out of your way as you're wrangling with these carp to get them on the boat. I need to buy or build a holder for my bow. I've seen other bow fishermen use some sort of a device to hold their bow while they're fishing or while they're struggling with a fish. That's what I need, because right now whenever I shoot a fish, I'm either having to put the bow in the stern or balance it on the bow of my Yak, which isn't the best solution because one wrong move and your bow will end up in the lake. So yeah, I'm going to look into building one for my next trip out here. As I pan around the lake, look at how the conditions have changed. The spawn is officially over. As you recall, my last time out here, they were boiling all around my kayak. Now they only come to the surface to feed every now and then. So for the most part, in order to fish under these conditions, you have to look for ripples or maybe a little dorsal fin of a carp as they come up. It's much more difficult hunting under these conditions, but it's certainly possible. As a result, I only got 5 fish today compared to the last time I was out here because the spawn's over and they only come up to feed every now and then, and they're spread out all over the lake. They're not coming at you like the last time I was out here where they'd almost swim up to my kayak. Once again, as the day progressed, the wind really started to pick up. As you can see here, I decided to head back because, under these conditions, it's really hard to carp fish, especially if they're not boiling on the surface like they did during the spawn. So at the end of the day, total weight of my stringer came in at just over 16 pounds. Not too bad since the fish were not spawning at all. Well, thanks for taking the time to watch, and please do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. It'll really help out the channel. Thanks again.